Thanks a lot. Good morning, everybody. A couple of things, as Chris mentioned about me, what I'm doing. Essentially, the bottom line is that we're really good at fixing cars in the automotive department, and I'm great at breaking LMS systems. So, really sorry, Canvas, but that's kind of how it's going to roll, and they've already experienced that. So, right now I'm kind of defrosting. This is me, just hanging. So. Kind of getting back to some stuff that I've got going on. Yeah, Chris wasn't lying. I got 150 slides in the PowerPoint. This is a little bit of a different session because, here's what I thought. I wrote up this glowy thing about, to be able to present here at the conference. And I sent it in, and they said, yeah, we'd love to have you. And so I said, great. So how much time do I have, like 90 minutes or something like that? And they're like, no, 30. And I went, 10 things, 30 minutes. Can you do the math on that or what? And they're like, well, you'll think of something. Okay, so I did. There are a couple things that I do want to touch on in here. One of them is one that is really informational for you guys, and I think moving into Canvas or some things that you've experienced in Canvas already with publisher cartridges and publisher content. I do want to talk a little bit about that. There's a lot of really exciting things going on with that. And I met with all of the sponsors here from the publishing industry, and I talked to them about this stuff. So we've got some exciting things to tell you that you really need to move forward with. I do have a section on course import-export, and what I want you guys to do is take a look at this list, figure out what you really want me to talk about, because they're all ready to go. I just clicked the button, and that's what we're going to do. And Chris is going to help kind of poll you guys. So it's going to be, Chris is going to say, which one is, which one we're doing. So if you get left out, I'm sorry. So we're going to talk a little bit. I've got a course import-export, and it's really, I had some really great ideas coming out of Angel and going into Canvas, and well, they didn't work out so good. I think anybody that's ever done this has really lived the dream and know exactly what I'm talking about. Quizzes and test banks. I'm a test bank guy, and content was really my key. I wanted to get content out. So I've got a section put together on that. Modules and dates. Oh boy, there's a learning curve for you. In the beta implementation, it was you don't have to admit to it, but how many of us have put everything in, shifted the dates around, and then all of a sudden, mysteriously, the students come up to you and go, hey, listen, I couldn't get to any of my assignments or quizzes. It's locked. And yeah, well, there's some ways that you can avoid that. So that's in there. Master courses. I'm really a firm believer that master courses are really cool, and putting them together, whether you're doing them or not, give it a thought. Hey, it's not a lot of rocket science to make one, so we'll talk about that. How to make a question bank zip. There's some software utilities out there. We can talk a little bit about that. How to take even from a text document and put it into a test bank cartridge that you can use in Canvas. Moving a test bank content around is another topic. What an LOR is. Now, I came from Angel, so LOR was like a big thing, a learning object repository. We don't have that in Canvas. But we've got some really cool ideas for you. And of course, hey, listen, import-export file drama. So if you haven't seen this happen, you will. And how you got there. There's a lot of, you go to a lot of these presentations, Canvas people tell you, hey, just bring your content in and build your courses, right? How many times have you heard that? Lots, right? And then you go, well, why? And so what do? We try it, and then we find out that there's drama. So I've got some screenshots of drama. It's really cool. Active content. What's an active content PowerPoint? Well, that's one that's got an SWF in it or it's got a movie in it. Since I use a lot of publisher content, my students, not sure really why, they would like to see the PowerPoints online so they can review them. We go over them in class, but they want to do it on their time. Who am I to stop them, right? But it is publisher content, and I can't just let them download it. Okay, I have permission to publish from the publisher, to republish it, but they can't download it. So I have to, the movies that are embedded in those PowerPoints, I have to find a way to be able to present those so the students can't copy that content. So basically what I've done, and this was a feature that was in some of the earlier versions of PowerPoint, is to develop an HTML PowerPoint. And basically all that content then plays in the browser window. Students can't download it. Solves all my problems, right? Legally, I am A-OK. So those are the topics. You know, what do you guys want, Chris? It's, you know, it's time to pick here. I want to talk a little bit about publisher cartridges. So that's a one-slide deal. I'm going to tell you about what's going on there, and then but pick another one because we got, you know, either that or it's going to be a really long question and answer session. All right, so here's the thing. Course import export. How many course import export people we got? We got this, well, okay, Chris, you got that? You count those? Good. All right, quizzes and banks. All right, cool. So it's like a tie. Modules and dates. Oh, wow, it's so weird. You guys aren't winning. PowerPoints that use active content. Couple people there. Okay. Master courses. It doesn't look too good. Question bank zip. Couple people there. All right. You guys aren't winning. Moving test bank content around. That one's pretty simple. Okay. How to LOR. And import-export file drama. You guys want to see the drama? Wow, you guys want to see drama. What do you think, Chris?
I think the last one and the master courses? Course import in the last one, yeah.
The import-export one and the file drama. Those kind of quizzes and banks and drama. Okay. Let's get to the publisher cartridges here real quick. Let me kind of get through this one. And this is kind of the bottom line on this. Like I said, it's a really short one deal here. A lot of the publishers offer content on their website. How many of you guys have gone to the website for your companion books and you've downloaded that content, you've tried to bring it into Canvas? Nobody except me. Okay, a couple people. Has it worked? Probably not. A lot of the stuff is available out there. Problem is, it's always in that other format that starts with a B. And it doesn't work really good. So my question, import-export thing, I was a creative guy. I tried to work that, that B content into something else, and it didn't work. There's the drama, too. I reached out to the publishers. I went to a conference. I met up with one of the publishing editors, and I said, your content sucks. I can't bring it into my LMS. I'm speaking for, I think, the crowd, right? And they said, just call our tech help people. They'll work it out. So I did, and guess what? They went, oh, yeah, Canvas. Yeah, we've been working on that stuff. We can fix that for you. What do you want? So I told them. And they sent me a file. And it was about that simple. So, again, I use one publisher. I don't use them all, which is why coming here to the conference was an excellent opportunity to network with these other publishers and ask them the same question. What will you do for you? And they said, we do the same thing, but please tell people. So here's me telling you that the publishers, all you've got to do is call them up on the phone and ask them for help. Tell them what you want, and they will make it so. Okay? Sound cool? So, any questions on that? That's kind of a pretty straightforward, simple deal. Okay. Whoops, hang on here. There's drama. I got to go back up to the top here. Come on. Come on. No. Come on. It's a bad plan. Technology is my friend. You guys want a content import-export, right? Anyway, yeah, that's kind of what we were talking about. All right, so here's the deal. Here's what we want. We want import-export done, right? Happy days. Is that what happens? Has anybody just tried to take a course out of their old LMS and put it in the new one? Did that work out really good? No, okay. And of course, what we're looking for is the easy button for doing this. This would be great. Unfortunately, here's, man, starting over sounds so hard. And here's what we find out, that there is no easy button for this deal. So here's an Angel import-export deal. Now, remember I said the Blackboard cartridges that I could get for nothing, and this is before I asked questions. So I took my Blackboard cartridge and I decided that I was going to import it into Angel because it wouldn't import into Canvas. And then I could export it and take that export and I could import that into Canvas. Does this sound like a bad idea at a lot of levels to technology people? Yeah? I thought so too at the time, but I thought, well, it'll be okay. So here's exporting Angel test banks. Again, your LMS is going to be the same. I'm in my LOR here, and essentially I've got the export the whole course deal, and I just figured, heck with it, man. I'm just going to export everything in my LOR. This would be the easy way to do it. In, out, done, right? And this one's just the publisher cartridge. So here's my export. Everything went out. Everything looks good. Selected my content type. I could pick an Angel format or a common cartridge. Both of those go into Canvas. By the way, just kind of an FYI for you, if you're doing this, the common cartridge does work a little better. Okay, I'm just saying there's a few file things that get cleaned up. It's a little bit better. So I figured, heck with it. Bigger, small, export them all, right? I mean, non-discretionary content deal here. Here's my summary. Everything looks. I don't know why they do that screen. Here's the export in progress. Everything's done. Successful export. I am happy. I've now got a zip cartridge that I can import into Canvas, all that content. I've got my Blackboard cartridge. Time to migrate. I go in here to the import wizard. Now, I'm importing a content package, and this is kind of one of those things that you've really got to work with when you're coming into Canvas. This is a very intimidating screen because it's got a lot of really cool things going on there. You've got to pick what type of file and everything. And so I was really importing just quizzes, but it was exported as a content package, so I need to figure out if I'm going to migrate or import. And, of course, I'm migrating. So I'm going to pick my LMS and select my file, choose the system. It's all happy days here. And now here's something I discovered, undocumented. If you close this window while you're migrating content, while you're doing a cartridge, it stops the download. So if you ever have done this and you've gone, gosh, nothing ever goes in, this never works, it never works, it never works, you close this window. It doesn't say in this window to do that. Now, how did I find this out? Well, remember I said bigger, small, export them all? My personal LOR in Angel was 1.6 gigs. So when I downloaded that, when I exported that, and of course I went to import it into Canvas, do you think that took a while to do over the internet? Of course. And what would I do? I would go in, I'd do this, about 20 minutes later, it still says I'm thinking about doing something. So you go do something else, go have a life, because 1.6 gigs, I think when it finally went in and up after I did this, I had to be at the college to do it using the internet there. I think the IT department was a little mad at me that day. But it took about 5 hours. So, if you're thinking about doing it with dial-up, don't. So I think people still have dial-up, Ray. So don't close this window. And, of course, well, here was a problem. Have you ever seen this screen? Unexpected error, great. I don't know what that means. But basically the bottom line is that didn't work. So here's my experience. Exporting never really goes well with courses. There's a lot of reasons. So round 2, we're going to take a look at using the content and not the entire course. This is usually a lot more reliable way to get your stuff out of your LMS. Don't take the course. There's a lot of things. I've been at a lot of these seminars here, and there's a lot of, people's buzzword has been, there's a lot of cleanup. Yeah, the cleanup is because you took the course and you didn't take the content, and it wasn't, or the content that you had wasn't really well organized. So spend a little bit of time, clean up your stuff, solve your worldly problems. So hey, backing out of where I was, I went back to where my content is in the LOR. This is the file I want, and I can export that item to a zip. So now I can just take the file instead of the entire LOR. It's essentially the same material, but it's probably going to have a lot less stuff with it. So we'll kind of see what happens here. Hey, look, it exported into the zip. Looks good. And now I'm going to import the content. And time to import. I'm going to select the import the content package again. And choose my LMS. So either I'm going to have a Angel format or a common cartridge. So I forget which one I picked. And I've tried them all. So migrating, everything looks good. Don't close the window. And hey, this looks better. No error. This is a happy email, ready to be imported. Cool. Looks great. There's all my test bank questions. Everything looks fine. Everything looks... these were test bank questions. Where'd these pictures come from? I don't know. Now remember, this cartridge that I had, this is the 10 bad things that you're not supposed to do. This wasn't a good idea at the beginning. So this is really what happened. But this really didn't go too good. How come? Well, typically this process does work. It works really good. Okay? I was doing something that was not a good idea at the beginning. I took a Blackboard cartridge, I put it in. I was kind of like washing it. This is why we had the first one about contact the publisher, get the content. Don't do it that way. Don't do it this way. The content has been, my experiences are pretty much whenever you are exporting a file and it has any type of linked content, which means you're taking a course, not your content, and it has linked content, files, pictures, if you've got a link, click on this picture and go see whatever. Anytime you have the pictures going and the page that you had is going and that link that hooks those two together is gone. This is why your stuff doesn't work, okay? So it's file content with linked files don't work. This is the cleanup, okay? And you have to clean up those broken links. You have to redo them. Why does Canvas tell you to start over? Take your content, put your content in there, and start over. Why? Then you make all the links in Canvas. Everything's cool. It works great. Okay. So that's what the deal was. And pretty much everybody's stuff that I've ever seen that migrated stuff that had linked content has a giant train wreck. Okay? So the results that I ended up with, not too typical. Typically, this is what I end up with. This is my content. I put it in. I pulled it out. There wasn't anything linked there. Everything worked fine. Notice no errant stray JPG files or anything else at the bottom. Nothing at all. So we looking at drama? Or what else are we doing? You guys want to see the drama? The drama is really long, so if they stand back there and flip up this sign, we're going to really start flying through the drama, I'm just telling you. So, linked file content. Well, you get this email, okay? And basically it says, hey, missing the links. We found the content, and we weren't really sure what to do with it, so we brought it in for you, and you can figure it out. So this is a pretty intuitive. This doesn't look scary, right? This looks like you can almost understand it. And then you go into your files, and then there's this, and it's like, wait a minute. This is great if I spoke PC. Since I don't, politically correct, I try. But I don't get what all these numbers and all the rest of this stuff are. And so I'm looking for my content, though. Where did my file go? I remember one of my colleagues had this exact screen, had this exact problem. He's like, I can't find all my files. I don't know where they are. All my PDFs, all my articles. He was a literature instructor. You can imagine, all of his assignments, all of his PDFs that he had, gone. They weren't gone. They were in a file hierarchy that looks like this. Oh my gosh, you're never going to find them. Does this look like it's organized content that you're going to be able to put back into your Canvas course, or does this look like a nightmare? This looks like a nightmare, I know. Moving all this content at one time and importing it, when you're importing questions and test banks and stuff like that, they all go in one way. Files like JPGs, PDFs, all the rest of your content need to go into the file folder directly, okay? Don't try to import them in the cartridge. It does weird things to them. It doesn't know what to do with them, okay? So clean up your stuff, put it in the right way, and you won't have a lot of problems. And then build your course. Okay? Could there be more drama? What do you think? Remember, we were playing, first of all, the top 10 things of what not to do. Take the Blackboard cartridge. How bad can it get? It can get really bad. First, I had all the orphan files, right? There's more. Now, I've been around for a couple of years. And so I know old math. I know there's new math. And there's some really new math. And we're going to see some really new math today. So here's my old math. Here's my Angel LOR. I went in, I counted up the number of questions in one of the question banks. Now there was 3 files for this particular chapter. They add up to 75 questions, right? So okay, so 75 questions out. I should have 75 questions in, because remember, that part of the content looked okay. Okay. So here's my here's my Canvas test banks, and let me see. I went from 3 files, folders. Now I have 7. And of course, if I add them all up, 4 plus 2, and across, I end up with 55. 55 questions. Okay, great. So I guess there's something that's lost in translation here. It did something, or I don't know what happened. Blame it on the export. Blame it on the import. Blame it on you really shouldn't have done that in the first place. I'll stick with that one. Hey, but guess what? I went to the quizzes, and this is new math. I exported 75 questions, and I got 226. Cool. Man. So the bottom line here with the import-export deal is usually the content is going to import and export well. Author test banks, PowerPoint stuff, import and export fine. You need to make sure that you've got your file structure working good, okay? Move your content, not your classes, okay? Very important. Material needs to be imported by file type separately. So if you're going to bring in quizzes and question banks, bring them in as quizzes and question banks. Bring in the files. Bring it in the right way. Do all that stuff the right way. You're going to bring in pictures. You're going to bring in JPGs. You're going to bring in things like that. Bring them in as files. Put them in the file folder. Don't try to do them with the import with the questions, okay? You're asking for trouble. That cleanup, okay? Don't close the migration window. Just leave it. Go open another browser window and go do something else. Check your email. Okay, so questions? I've left you all speechless. Awesome. Either that or you're sleeping. Yes, sir. Uh-huh.
I just wanted to say that we've been streamlining the whole thing.
Yeah, I know. Here's the thing. I need my mouse because, I've got to tell you, I love these guys. They're great. I came to this conference, and, here's the thing. Somehow or another, in that particular round of questions, there was a slide that was missing, and I really apologize for that. There are 152 questions or slides in this PowerPoint, so anybody who wants it, I will send it to them. I'm looking for something here. Yes, you guys are streamlining it, and actually it looks really cool. As soon as I find it, I'll be happy to show you what I've stolen. I think you're referring to something like this?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not released yet, is it? No, that's a secret? Really? How did I get that slide, do you think?
When will that be released? Curiosity.
From what I've been told, and you can ask him. I was told I will take the heat for this, so I'll save you. It's a couple of releases out. Okay, not is that good? We okay there? It's at least a couple of revisions out. That's what I was told.
Thank you.
So, yes.
So you can't export just question banks from Angel, can you? You can go in and export the questions. Yes, you can go in and export because in the question banks, if you go into the content, if you go into the folder that I had, that one folder in the class. You can go into there, you can take, again, in Angel, you can have your PowerPoints in a folder, you can have your questions in a folder, you can organize your content before you export, folks, okay? That was kind of the memo, because all this stuff, when you put it all together, it's a train wreck. So you take your questions that you want to export, you put them in a folder, you export that folder, now you've got a zip folder, you can bring that in as questions. So the quizzes, you mean?
The quizzes, yeah.
Question banks will export, but they don't have the proper names on them. But you can see how many questions are in it, so you can go back and correlate. But the other way I found is that if you take all of your questions from the question bank, say your Chapter 2 question bank, and put it into a Chapter 2 quiz, then it will come through, and I think it will be actually named Chapter 2 when you get into Canvas.
Yeah, some of the naming conventions are better and worse for some of this import-export. And if you develop the quizzes with all of your question bank questions, then you can export all of the content. So that would help you out. Okay? Yes, sir.
What portion of your faculty merely export from Angel and then rebuild the course from the ground up in Canvas rather than importing into Canvas?
I think a lot of the faculty have tried exporting. It's been my experience, and we've had some mixed results. Some seem to go better than others, and I think that's why Canvas takes the stand that you should rebuild. You should start over, because if you do have linked file content, you're going to end up with nothing but trouble. But again, for them to tell you everybody should do that. That should be that's what you have to do. They don't do that. But why? And everybody goes, well, why? Why can't I just take my class? I mean, I just want to get this done. I've got a lot of work in everything. So, I got time for about one more quick question, and then I'll be around. I will be more than happy to send you my my PowerPoint if you're interested. It's really big. I have to get all the way back up here to the top.
Can you post it on the InstructureCon course site?
If they will let me do that. I do not know. Okay. But if you need to send me an email, shoot me an email. I'll send it to you, or I can reach out to you, or some other things. If you got questions, there are some notes that I've written, about, how this wasn't really a good idea. There's a couple of them that, if you really want to skip ahead, just skip ahead. Save yourself some. By the way, this didn't go well. Skip ahead. Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate your time.